and welcome to the Athletic NBA Show. It's Friday. I'm Dave DeFore, and that, of course, means only one thing. It's Nerder, she wrote. Joining me as they have each week this season, and for the last, 4 seasons now, we've been doing this. Seth Partnow and Mo DeKill. And Mo, holding up the dog. Is this like... You want us to look at your dog? Is that what's happening here?
He was pawing at my leg and wanted attention. So I picked him up and then I said, oh, well, look, let me just put him right in front of the camera.
Yeah. So side benefit of having a huge dog is that my dog, he doesn't ever try to get picked up.
Fair enough.
Side benefit.
He doesn't mind it. He'll leave in a few minutes, so we'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, we're good to go. This is an animal friendly podcast.
There's a cat eyeing me from right over here, by the way.
That's what I'm looking for, Seth. I can't wait.
Well, we're all in a good mood here, and I think at least a part of that, guys, has to do with my favorite thing. So I want to jump right in. How about this playoff race? Pretty fun, competitive. We've got parity. In the West, it is absolutely absurd how tight the race is for everything up to the 4 seed. We have 2.5 games separating the Lakers in 10 and the Suns in 4. Again, as I've continued to mention, we are contractually obligated to praise the play-in tournament every single time this comes up this time of year. Play-in, overwhelming success, but it feels like the playoffs already. We're getting playoff games at the end of March, guys. The Warriors and Mavericks game had everything, including some stuff that we'll get to that maybe not so good, but it had everything you want out of a tight contest between two teams that felt like they had to win. And the Warriors have struggled so much on the road. There were a lot of narratives and storylines for the game. And then the game itself was pretty close, as you'd expect, between two teams kind of fighting for their playoff lives. So my favorite thing right now, guys, has been the playoff race. I think it's been so much fun. And you can see each and every night, each team's weaknesses are being exploited. I mean, the Suns and their lack of depth, no KD, and it hurts them. The Clippers, they've lost Paul George now. Kawhi Leonard's going to have to turn it up even more, even though he's been incredible for like the last 20, 25 games. So the playoff race, and in particular in the West, man, this is so good.
I mean, for some teams, the playoffs have started. That's just the way you would have to look at it, is they're in a race to make the playoffs and seeding and things like that. And I think that's it. And I think even in the East, Miami's chasing Brooklyn right now to be the 6th seed and get out of the play-in tournament. That's not going to be fun for whoever's a 3 seed in the East. Say whatever you want about Miami. We're going to get a couple of new bruises out of that game. So I think that's one of those things. To me, it's just, hey, the playoffs have started. And as a big opponent to the play-in tournament when it was first announced, I gotta own it. It's worked. It's been great. It's been awesome. It's made more games matter down the stretch. And I think we have a real tight race on our hands for a lot of things and a lot of intrigue each night. It's wild.
One of the side sort of things that has benefited and led to this parity is the flattened lottery odds. So the young teams who we hit on last week no longer really, let's just say they're not tanking extra. They're not trying hard to lose any games. There's no manipulation of the roster. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I mean, they're making a playoff run. I think they're going to be the 5 seed, by the way, Oklahoma City. That's where I think they're going to wind up. They're just really good. And if I was one of the teams in the top half of the playoff bracket, I would not want to play Oklahoma City in the first round. Like the Kings would just, I don't think that they could beat Oklahoma City in a 7-game series. That's how tight everything is right now. I think that the league is, we say this all the time. League is in a great place. League has so much talent that on any given night, I think any team can win right now. So pretty nice.
I think the real upshot of that is the schedule is going to determine those races much less than it might. It used to be where, they're a game ahead, but they've got 4 games left against teams chasing ping pong balls. And so you can pencil those in for wins. Another thing by the way, you mentioned the top 10 teams. The 11 and 12 are only a half game further back than that. So it's, the Lakers in 10, not too hard for them to drop out. LeBron returning might mess up the Austin Reeves led chemistry. And then who knows what happens. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, they
it's
should be
terrible.
trading LeBron now at this point and give the ball to Austin Reeves. I don't know what you guys. I mean,
Hey,
this is a the
that
Renaissance.
team, what a difference the trade deadline made for the watchability of that team. And right now with no LeBron, it's just a regular basketball team. They play really hard. I know you made the joke about Austin Reeves, but Austin Reeves has been
Oh yeah.
awesome.
He's,
He had
he's
11
awesome.
he had 11 assists in that game. And everyone's kind of stuck on the free throw thing. I just think it's funny. But the truth is, man, he earns that contact. Like, he draws contact. He's got really good body control. When he drives and gets to the nail, he's really good at stopping on a dime. And you add into that his passing vision, and they've been a lot of fun to watch. But the game against Phoenix, I mean, again, playoff feel. Anthony Davis had to turn it on in the second half, and you could feel the difference in intensity. So that's
just your point about the difference the trade deadline makes. They put a competent team on the court. That's the difference. They didn't have an actual functional basketball team before the trade deadline. They wouldn't be in this situation if they tried to, I don't know, put a functional, productive team on the court on day one. But I digress with all of that. They've done a great job since the trade deadline with everything, and even surviving the LeBron injury. It sounds like he's coming back soon.
And two decent guards in their starting lineup for the first time in what feels like, 2 years. So that's kind of a big thing for the Lakers, but they've been fun as hell to watch. So that's my favorite thing, guys. The playoff race. I am compelled. I'm in. I'm all in. I'm literally checking the standings, even on nights that I don't work. I'm checking the standings at the end of the night. That's how in I am. And
because it's musical chairs.
It is. And if I go to bed and don't know who it is, I'm going to wake up in the morning completely confused. Yeah.
It's pure chaos. I'm going to go with my favorite thing, which is a bit of a shameless plug as well. It's my one mo thing this week. It's Jrue Holiday's defense. And just so you guys know, I had to pull and cut several different clips out of there because the video could have been 20 minutes long. And that goes against the 2 minutes I'm trying to do. But I just think, honestly, he's the best perimeter defender in the NBA, and I don't think he gets discussed enough in that regard. And we talk about it all the time. I don't understand why he's not getting more pub for Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, he's on the team with Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo, guys that can have won Defensive Player in the Year in the past. But, at the same time, he's one of the reasons why they get to have an easier job defensively. And I think a lot of the stuff he does goes unnoticed. And I think he needs to get a lot more love for Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, Seth wrote the story that got Marcus Smart the win last year. Maybe one more thing does it for Jrue Holiday this year.
I don't think I have the reach. I don't think I have that reach.
Well, we'll see. I would say this. I think that you bring up Brook and you bring up Giannis, and it's important because we do tend to, and we do this with MVP too. We tend to reward the guys that have lesser players, and we see it as a heavier lift, right? Instead of what maybe you're suggesting, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but with Jrue, if you dig into the tape, he's the best guard defender in the league right now. Hands down.
I don't think it's close. I know some people will come back with Caruso or whatnot, but I just don't think it's close for the stuff that he does. And the fact he can go 1 through 4. They played a game in December against the Pelicans, and they put him on Zion. Not, hey, when you switch onto him, no big deal or whatever. No. Your assignment is Zion Williamson, and that allows Brook and Giannis to play free safety behind him. And I think that's just incredible in its own right. I feel like we do not give him enough love in that regard, and I think he needs to get that.
So you're not gonna find someone. You're not gonna make me not say good things about Jrue Holiday. I will say that the reason why Defensive Player of the Year tends to skew towards bigs is it's easy. It is sort of like a shutdown corner in football. It is more possible to take a great on-ball perimeter defender, not out of the game, but limit them by schematic stuff. Whereas if a guy's a great rim protector, that's ever present. And so it is harder for a perimeter guy to have the kind of overall defensive impact as, Brook Lopez or Jaren Jackson Jr. or Nick Claxton have had this year. Or Miami fans say Bam Adebayo, and it's a slight. I don't know if he's been quite on that level this year, but I think that is the reason why it's typically been a big man award. That said, in terms of adding something to your defense, as Mo suggests, having the guy who's the best at that and the best by a lot, and then you pair him with another ball hawk in Javon Carter. Jared Dubin wrote a nice article at the 538 this week, noting the value in, this is something we've talked about a lot before, the value in getting into your offense early, and conversely, the value you get defensively by preventing the other team from getting into their offense early. And that's something that teams with good ball hawking guards like Milwaukee can put out there with Carter and Holiday. Like, I think that's going to be a thing that probably is going to do some good for them in some playoff series. Like, all right, we need to get stops for 5 minutes. We're picking up 3/4 court. Have fun with your 12-second shot clock.
Yeah, I mean, is there an argument to be made that we don't give Jrue the credit that we give Brook for allowing Giannis to kind of be this, this chaos agent on defense to a certain degree? I mean, we have talked a lot on this show in particular about how Brook's ability to play in drop, play that center field, allows Giannis to go out and create plays. But Jrue kind of does the same thing to a certain degree. And then again, the switchability of Jrue, he's the most switchable guy on that team. It's not Giannis.
I think we have talked before about how, it's so often when a team, it's more when we talk about a team being bad in drop or center field coverage, we put all the blame on the big guy, and without necessarily noticing that the lack of ball pressure from the on-ball defender is contributing also. And I think the Bucks are the counterpoint to that, because as long as Brook Lopez has been there, they've had Eric Bledsoe, they've had Dante DiVincenzo, they've had Pat Connaughton, they've had Jrue Holiday as guys who could get over, Javon Carter, as guys who could get over screens, pressure the guard, make the big man's job easier, because it's not just a guy getting a free downhill run at them. So I think that not only does he free up Giannis, but I think he allows Brook to be able to play that cat and mouse game that he plays so well with kind of the ball handler and the roller, because there's also, it's not just a guy, coming downhill at him at a full rate of speed. The guy's okay. Well, this guy's going to take the ball from me if I dally too long. So I gotta hurry up and do something, and that plays into Brook's hands.
Yeah. Seth, what is your favorite thing?
So my favorite thing is one of is in honor of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament, where we get announcer after announcer telling a team it's down 4 with 15 seconds left that they don't need a 3 here. And then the team goes for a quick 2 and misses it, and the ball game is over. I think we saw one of the more epic quick 2s earlier this year when Dallas down 3 to Golden State never managed to have the ball in the air to tie, despite having 2 timeouts down 3 with 8 seconds left, which is kind of a travesty, if you ask me.
I just don't understand why you can't run a play.
I mean, this is what I've been screaming about. Why not run plays more at the end of games and things like that? And I know all that stuff, but it goes to a lot of my complaints of how teams play end of game offense with everything that they do and how they go about things. With that, I know the quack 2, in the Warriors Dallas game, I think that was just Luka seeing that, hey man, I got no chance. No opportunity to get off to run the play we're running, because the Warriors knew, hey, we're defending the 3-point line. We don't care if we give up a 2. So they forced everything back into the paint, and it didn't work out for them as well as they would have liked. I wouldn't even have been upset if Luka scores that. They still have a timeout left. I know it's short on time, but I think they would have been able to get one more opportunity out of it with the benefit of that timeout. But in general, the quack 2 is a lot of fun because it just drives Seth nuts.
Well, the volume of messages I receive anytime it happens is I am actually the friend of the program, Dan Feldman, actually came up with the quack 2 signal for it's a rubber ducky Batman meme for people to throw up.
Today's show is brought to you by Morgan & Morgan. For more information, visit forthepeople.com/NBA show. Did you know that in 2020, there were over 5 million car crashes? That's over 15,000 a day, 600 an hour.
Now, that number is incredibly shocking, but if you were injured in an accident, wouldn't you want to be made whole? Well, if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They have over 100 offices nationwide and more than 800 lawyers. With over $15 billion recovered for clients, Morgan & Morgan has a proven track record of fighting to get you full and fair compensation. Submitting an injury claim with Morgan & Morgan is extremely easy, and it's more like using an app than hiring a lawyer. If you're ever injured in an accident, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. For more information, go to forthepeople.com/NBA show or dial pound law. That's pound 529 from your cell phone. That's forthepeople.com/NBA show or pound law, pound 529 from your cell phone. This is a paid advertisement.
Okay, well, one of our bigger topics, actually, this is a great jumping off point, because one of our bigger topics was on display in the Mavericks and Warriors game, and it just seems like it's been on display and in our face so much more this season, and in particular the last couple weeks, between Fred VanVleet and his fight with Ben Taylor, the referee, and then we hear through friend of the program Tom Haberstroh, he's been sort of soft demoted. And then we have this incident in the Mavs Warriors game at the end of the third quarter where the Mavericks think it's their ball, but they're mistaken, and they're wrong about that, by the way. I mean, by the time you hear this on Friday, I'm sure that we'll have the Zapruder film of the entire incident out there. But it seems to me like that was a communication error for the team, for the refs. Like, we got to clean this stuff up. But there's just been an overwhelming amount of missed calls, bad calls. Kawhi Leonard got a technical for clapping.
No. Terrence Mann got taught. That ref called 3 technicals in 30 seconds. That is the highest tech per minute ratio we've had in the league. I mean, that was just a and somebody got ejected. That was wild.
Got to go back to when Steve Javie ejected a bunch of people and the mascot in a span of about 45 seconds. That's probably close to 20 years ago now.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were filming like a remake of Forget Paris or something, but either way, no one has ever in history
got that reference.
paid a dime to watch a referee at a basketball game. And so, look, I'm anti-replay. I'm anti-coach's challenge. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd do call your own, because at least then I think these guys would have some pride and they wouldn't flop so much. But the truth is, you can't have
come
that.
on.
Oh, no.
Stop it.
There's no way. There's no way.
With the call your own.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm kidding, but there's no way they wouldn't have a little bit more pride. But the truth is, like, the refereeing is an issue, and the calls there have been a lot of missed and bad calls to the point where it's hard to even defend sometimes, guys. And I mean, I'm not sure what the league can do. Now, I know that there are proposals to add a 4th ref. That certainly would help. But why isn't there a video ref for every game that's able to review everything in real time? We can see the replay instantly. Mo can clip while a game is going live and have it on Twitter in 10 seconds. Seems very easy to me.
I think you're asking exactly the wrong question.
Perfect.
And here's why. It's like the notion that we'll get all these calls right, blah, blah, blah. I think the problem is really more that, and this is ironically enough, an effort that's been driven largely by complaints from Mark Cuban, is that they're trying to get some like objective reffing standard which calls are either right or wrong. And so there's this one size fits all rubric against which everything is measured. And what's happened is, the ref isn't there to dole out punishment. The ref is there to make the game go smoothly. Like, the visceral reaction Mo and I had to call your own is we've all played in that game where some motherfucker is just like foul, 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 foul. Some of them might even be assistant coaches who are with teams in the Eastern Conference now.
Name names, Seth. If you're gonna do it, name names.
Ben Sullivan, I love you, but he calls bad fouls to pick up. But instead of 30 years ago, the refs had the ability to have rapport and manage the game so that the game flowed. And it's like, all right, that's too much. Stop, back off. We can talk about it, but that's enough. And instead, it's a very robotic,
Black and
bright
white.
line, black and white. And I don't think that works because all that does is lead to situations where I got screwed. I'm going to complain more, blah, blah, blah. And it just leads to a raising of tension. And I have a hard time actually blaming the refs because they are not permitted to use the tools that could diffuse because it's just like, nope, that's my call. I can't talk to you. And that. Of course, that's not going to work. Of course, in the moment of heightened competition, that's going to like piss someone off more. So while I hear what you're saying, I think that it's going down that path of expecting precision has made perfect the enemy of good.
And I will agree with that too. I would rather just say roll the ball out, let the calls fall how they may, and then keep it moving. But we live in a video world.
But it's not even that though. I think one, it's some of these things that are automatic technicals just tend to take away what Seth is saying in terms of like, let's conversate and figure these things out. And how do we get this going through it? But I think the concept of every game is going to be officiated the same way is incredibly stupid. I think the idea that that's going to happen is 3 different human beings each time. So collectively, it's going to be different. All you want is consistency. And I'm going to be honest with you. If you're going to be bad, be consistently bad on both ends, or be good on both
Yeah,
ends,
that's
or
it.
whatever. You just want the consistency of it. And I think that's kind of what the players want. But also, the players need to chill the fuck out. And I'm dead. This is getting really out of hand over the past 5 years of the nonstop complaining and griping when you don't get a call, the throwing your hands up. And, how many times have we made the joke of a dude calling for a review when it was like, no, that's clearly a foul. Like, and this is something that they have to deal with regularly as the officials. And I'm not trying to defend officials in general because they get a lot wrong in that sense. But the response that they get from the players, this is actually a relationship problem. It's a relationship issue between the players and the officials. And we saw it in the Fred VanVleet going off and ready to go. We saw it in Luka Doncic after he felt like he
With
got
the money
foul
sign.
call and throwing the money sign to think it's gambling. And by the way, should have probably gotten a tech for that. In that instance, we saw it with Scotty Barnes chirping with Scott Foster and things like that. Like there's a lot of different things. The relationship issue amongst the officials and the players is fractured and it needs to be fixed. And it goes back to more to what Seth was saying of like refs being able to hear what the guys are saying to them and all of that. Like they almost need to have more work in how to defuse confrontations than anything else in that stuff. But also some of this is on the players because the griping is way out of hand. And it's
Luka has gotten to the point where it is he's frustrating to watch as a player sometimes anyway.
But I don't even want to pick on Luka. That's the easy one.
Yeah.
We've seen so every player do it, and we've seen it in every game all the time across the board. And it's something where it's like, this is getting a little bit wild. And to be honest, this isn't new. Literally had this problem when I was with the Clippers with Blake and CP. Same issue. It's along those lines. It's just been building up so much to the point where it's like we're out of control with what we have. And then it's just it's going through this. And I'm gonna be honest here, Mavs fans, y'all need to chill out because first off, the ref's not the one that screwed that up.
Yeah, well, that's true.
The referee called it originally Golden State ball, and then you guys just messed up from everything. And then now but I'll say this is where you should be mad because that shouldn't have been your complaint. Your complaint should have been Kevon Looney throwing down Luka Doncic to get that rebound before it went out of bounds. That's a whole different story. But just that sense of like, there's not going to be a perfect call. And a lot of times it tends to even out.
To put a point on this, first of all, we talked about March Madness. I have a hard time going after NBA refs after watching 32.
Well, you got to understand, college basketball refs actually don't like basketball, so that's why they call the game that way. They love charges. They're just out there for that.
But the other thing, and the stuff we're talking about, this is not limited to the NBA. It's not even limited to professional sports. I mean, how often do we see stories about the struggles of getting like referees for youth tournaments? Because who would want to do it? Because some coach dad is gonna run down to this out of the stands and motherfuck you for missing a call. Like it doesn't
even have to be some coach dad. Mo,
Yeah.
did you ever ref practice?
I don't want to go down that road again.
It's the
I don't wanna-
worst.
You guys are. This is the second time this has come up this week in my
Guys,
life, and you guys are
it's
bringing
the
back
worst.
flashbacks.
It is the most thankless job you can have. And what's amazing is we have decided that to do things formally, like play sports formally, you need these guys out there. But I as a head coach, refed practice and had a player MF me in the game. And by the way, you just let it fly because hey man, this is how it is when you're playing. But being a referee,
game reps.
yeah, that's right. Even being a referee for people you know and that trust you, they're still going to give you some of that. So like certainly with people who they don't see all the time, but I mean, I think that Mo is onto something here. It's a relationship issue, but then it's something that I always go back to when I talk about flow of the game stuff with referees, and especially with these non-basketball plays that we all know are not actually attempts at shots or things of that nature. If we would trust these people who are also basketball people, referees are basketball people. They've been in the sport their whole lives. You don't just wake up one day and become an NBA referee. It takes years and years of training and years of basketball experience. And the referees I know love the game too. Maybe we should let these people rely on their judgment a little bit and talk to the players and work things out so that we get a better product. I just want to be able to sit at home and not think about these guys being on the court.
Yeah. So at a lot, I mean, to that point, it's funny. Like I sometimes I go back, look at like rosters of old college teams, and I'd like to see who came out of the SEC or something like that. And you'll see a name, and it's like, oh man, that guy's been a ref for 10 years, and it was a guy who's on Alabama or something. So it's like these are guys like okay. If you're good enough in basketball to be on a high major team, you're obviously like a basketball junkie, and probably, as you say, someone whose knowledge and instinct for the game should be trusted a little bit. And that's just, I think that, again, that gets back to the point. I think the refs probably could do those things if that was the mandate they're being given, but instead of trying to satisfy this like spreadsheet version of, well, we got 7 missed calls against us and they only got 3, therefore blah blah blah, which is what a lot of kind of almost the accountancy of ref evaluation has become. It puts them in a situation where we're chasing reffing metrics instead of well managed from an officiating standpoint games.
Well, I have a couple of points. One, the refs, like, let's just be clear too. The refs have not been good this year in the NBA.
No.
It's been atrocious with some of the missed calls and things like that. We're not saying they've been great and all that stuff with all that. That's not at all where we're going with that. But the other thing too, for all those that do want to complain about refs, go ref your local Y. Okay, and do that for a month, and then report back. Like, do that in that sense. And I think the other thing, to Seth's last point about the metric side of it, yeah, like the numbers of fouls called and whatnot and things like that shouldn't be the metric. It is their job is to manage the game and keep the game flowing in that, Yeah, did he make contact? Sure. Did it really mess up his shot? No. Okay, we don't need to call that like whatever it is, the judgments that they need to make with all of that stuff. I feel like and you guys have all said it already, our strive for perfection and get the perfect call and get it right every time is really what's holding us back. And I think that's the thing we got to look at is I just want a well-managed game, because I'm with you, Dave. I don't want any more reviews. I'm done with it. Over. Coach's challenge, gone, ruining the flow of the game with all of those things. And I think the officials do need to get better, and they need to work, and they work their butts off, and they need to find a way to improve it. I think the NBA has to provide more transparency into the issue. The problem with Ben Taylor, and then he's been soft demoted or very quietly demoted. Might need to make these things more public.
Yeah, maybe.
If I mean, what was the official we had earlier who had that run in with the Spencer Dinwiddie? Told his teammate that Spencer Dinwiddie was a bitch ass motherfucker.
Tony Brothers.
Tony Brothers, thank you.
That's it. Yeah.
It's like, what? Like,
Right.
and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, you're sorry. Like that should be something the league needs to make a statement.
Yeah.
And suspend him and make it public in that sense. And I think that's some of the stuff the players want as well. And I think that's fair in terms of the transparency, because if they said that to him, tossed and, probably fined. So I think there needs to be a little bit more from the NBA side too, in terms of bringing in a little bit of I don't want to say a hammer, but being a little bit tougher on the refs in that sense, because their job is also to keep the game flowing. And I think everybody needs to get their shit together.
Again, guys, I stand by my statement that I've now made successive seasons. If you swapped NBA referees and professional wrestling referees, we might wind up with a better product on both hands.
Today's show is brought to you by Indeed. Visit Indeed.com/NBA Show 22 to start hiring now. What's better than finding quality candidates? Finding them instantly. For a powerful hiring partner, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. If you hate waiting, Indeed's US data shows that over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on hiring. Visit Indeed.com/NBA Show 22 to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/NBA Show 22. Indeed.com/NBA Show 22. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
And that's a perfect time for us to move on to our next topic. And guys, this came from Seth, because Seth was talking about trusting the Bucks and not trusting the Nuggets. And a lot of this is about our bias. Our biases toward the Nuggets in particular. I think with the Bucks, we trust the Bucks because we just saw him do it. And we saw him get close last year, but Middleton got hurt. And then all of the numbers back up so far this season, since Middleton, especially since he's started to round into form, that this team is exactly the team that it was when it won a title basically 2 years ago. It's pretty damn good. But I want to know not why we trust the Bucks, because I think we do know that. Why don't we trust the Nuggets at all?
There's a notion that they've somehow underperformed in the playoffs the last, which to me is just like batshit. Like winning a series with the team that they had to put on the floor.
Facundo Campazzo.
Right. And it's as simple as that. And it's also like odd players, unusual players, we don't believe they can do it until they do it. Remember, Giannis couldn't do it in the playoffs until he did. And because we haven't seen, even though Jokic has been a spectacular playoff performer to this point in his career, we haven't seen him, aside from kind of a somewhat odd bubble run, hasn't had a lot of deep team success, as much more because of the team he had around him than anything he's done. But because he's an unusual player, he's so bad defensively, a team with that kind of center can never blah, blah, blah. Well, a team whose best player couldn't shoot a jumper could never blah, blah, blah until they did. So I think that there is a little bit of suspicion there, but it was in making the comparison, like the Nuggets were second as of the time I tweeted. The Nuggets were something like second in offense, 17th in defense. The Bucks were 17th in offense, like third in defense. So it's like completely opposite profiles. And a lot of the feedback I got, well, since Middleton's back, the Bucks have been great on offense, and that's true. But over the same time period, the Nuggets have been very good on defense. So it's the parallels kind of continue. And it wasn't something to say we should be more skeptical of the Bucks. It was something to wonder why we've spent all year with the Nuggets being like first or second in the West, thinking of which team is actually going to win the West that isn't them.
So I'm going to push back quite a bit. I do just want to jump on. They've not been better defensively as of late in like the last 10 games. I don't know what the numbers are, but just having watched them, they've been
since All-Star break, they really have fallen.
They've been awful.
They've been bottom 10, I think, since the All-Star break.
There was a run in like January where they were defending well, and then that was it. Here's the reason why I trust the Bucks more than I trust the Nuggets, right? Is I've seen their offense and I've seen their defense. I know what it looks like. And I get you with that. And I think Jokic is unfairly, like, his playoff record is unfairly held against him. When you go look at the teams he had those past 2 years, you're 1,000% correct in that. I still don't buy. I think this team's going to struggle more defensively in the playoffs than before, when teams are going to be able to really diagnose them and sit down in there. I know you even said it in your tweet that, hey, offense tends to struggle more than defense in the playoffs, but teams are going to be going at them and trying to pick apart their defense and put Jokic in bad spots, put Murray in bad spots, go after Michael Porter Jr. and put them in bad spots as much as they possibly can. And they're going to focus on that throughout the playoffs. And for me, I think that's easier than saying like, hey, well, the Bucks offense is just going to suck. Well, listen, the Bucks offense is, as long as Middleton's healthy, then they have a half-court offense. They have a system that makes sense for them, and they have a nuclear option in Giannis, as you know very well in that instance. And Jokic himself is nuclear on the offensive end, but he's a problem on the defensive end. It's going to be a concern. It's something that he actually has to prove this playoffs about it defensively. And so that's why I look at it. You asked me who's coming out of the West. I got no clue. I might as well just pick a name out of a hat at this point, because it's really going to come down to matchups. Like, this is, I think it's even odds for every team almost.
Honestly, I mean, depending on Paul George and what he looks like when he comes back, which they're saying he's tracking to be back the week of the playoff start. And, obviously Kevin Durant is the big question mark in Phoenix. And I think if KD's out there, Phoenix is probably a lot of folks' favorite. But then there's also the Warriors, who, when their starting lineup plays, they're still really good. And I just can't quit the Warriors. But that's why I can't trust the Nuggets.
You guys
they
are
haven't separated.
You guys are, but they have a 4-game lead in the conference. Like, they've been the best. Like, some of it's fine, some of it's health related, but they've been the best team in the conference all season. And I agree with you, Mo, that there are more reasons to be skeptical of the Nuggets than there are of the Bucks. I'm just talking about the degree and the fact that we're starting this discussion from, okay, not this team that has a 1 next to their name. Which of these teams 2 through 10 is it actually going to be? And that's the part that I find that like, we are collectively patting the Nuggets on the head, saying, nice job getting the 1 seed. Now let the real playoff teams decide who's going to win the conference.
But don't we do that until the team finally wins?
Yeah,
we do that with everybody.
Is that all it is? Is that all it is, though, Mo? Like, is it just we are never going to trust any team to actually win until they do it, and then retroactively we extend that trust? Oh, we should have seen it coming.
Let me ask you a question. How many of you guys have trusted the Clippers over the last few years?
No,
right?
It's
like,
not
that's
at
the
all.
point, right? Like, something always goes wrong with them.
They
none
play
of
like
us
strangers.
None of us trust the Kings. None of us, we're in that sense, this is going to be their first playoff run in 16 years.
And they might be the 2 seed.
And
so the funny thing is, there was a meme on Milwaukee Twitter, never trust the Bucks, up until like 20.
Right, until they win it. And it's the same thing with Toronto till they won it. It's every team is going. This is almost a rite of passage of, you have to go through it that way. And it sucks in that sense, and you have to defy the doubters. And even if you're the 1 seed, Seth, it doesn't matter that they have a 3.5 game lead on the 1 seed. Because you know what I'm going to say to you about the Western Conference? It's been batshit crazy the entire year. Every time you look at the fact that New Orleans was a 2 seed at one point and looked like they were going to threaten for the 1 seed early in the season, and that shit fell apart. It's been an incredible weird year for the conference in itself, and there's been so many question marks, and to hurt the Nuggets really even more, this run where this rut that they've hit in March doesn't help. It creates more doubt than anything else. It'll be phenomenal, because you guys are going to listen to this on Friday, and then we have 2 great Nuggets games coming up Saturday and Monday. I think that's going to be really kind of a defining moment there, Seth. They sweep that, people are going to be looking around going like, all right, well, hey, man, the Bucks got to be the favorite. And then, they lose both of those. Everybody's going to be like, see, I told you, don't trust them. Never the Nuggets is going to be the next meme that's set until they win it. And I think that's the thing. I mean, to me, I have a lot of doubts with them, but it's because I still see the problems now that I saw before. So that's really my issues with them. Can they go to the finals? Absolutely. Because again, the West, batshit crazy. Anything's going to happen this year in the conference. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's wildly insane.
All right. As we wrap up here, I'm going to ask you guys, because the Nuggets play the Bucks and the Sixers back to back. Nuggets win that? Is Jokic winning MVP?
Narratives.
I know. This is what we love. This is the way the awards are chosen. We're making a guess here. I'm not making a statement.
I want load management of all 3 stars in all those games.
Oh, fuck you, Seth. Come on, man.
These sort of marquee matchups late down the stretch. I mean, we know that traditionally they do sort of.
Today's show is brought to you by our friends at First Leaf. Visit firstleaf.com/NBA show to get your first 6 bottles for $39.95 plus free shipping. Imagine this scene. You're at the crowded supermarket, cruising the wine aisle, feeling lost, intimidated, or maybe you're just tired of always buying the same stuff. You want to explore, but you don't know where to start. You need to try First Leaf. Here's why. As America's most personalized wine company, First Leaf takes the guesswork out of wine selection. It's super easy. You just take their short taste quiz and you rate the first few wines that they send you. Then First Leaf is going to use your responses to curate a customized selection of delicious, award-winning wines based on your personal preferences with 96% accuracy. Sign up today and you'll get your first 6 bottles for $39.95 plus free shipping. Go to tryfirstleaf.com/NBA show. That's tryfirstleaf.com/NBA show to get your first 6 bottles for $39.95 plus free shipping. Try firstleaf.com/NBA show.
They can swing voters. I mean, so I want these guys to go for it. Like, I want it to be like Robinson and Olajuwon going for the scoring title back in the day. Just go for it. Just try to go for 40 for the rest of the season. Just do it.
Honestly, it probably in the past, it may not have mattered as much, but with this race being so damn close, I mean, literally people like we're picking at like the smallest things we can possibly can. We're squinting at stats and tilting our head to make it look in a way so that we're both, cherry picking the right stat for our guy or whatnot, or who we think should be it. When it's this close, it's going to come down to these games, because it's also Embiid's going to end up playing Giannis, I think, one more time. Like, it's going to come down to this. This weekend for Jokic is going to decide if he wins the MVP or not, depending on how he performs and how the team does. And, fair or unfair, it's just a product of this is how damn close the race is right now. And I think that's actually a good thing, because there are stakes at this game that are beyond just the game.
That it? All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week, folks. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Nerder, She Wrote, on the Athletic NBA Show.